fucking scum.
They're fucking pigs!
Patriarchy. Fucking brave apologist, incest supporting, woman hating, fucking scum.
You woman eater!
Patriarchy, fuckface.
You and your sons and your everybody and your friends, bunch of fucking men.
Fucking scum.
This is what men's rights look like. This is what men's rights look like. This is what men's rights look like.
Feminist theory is not the Bible. It is not the Declaration of Independence. It is not the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Damn right we target feminist ideology. Feminist ideology teaches nothing but hate and contempt for men and boys.
Feminism must be like the psychedelic drug. I swear to God, because nothing they say is remotely close to reality.
We're going to continue to call feminists out on their hate and bigotry, and we really don't give a damn if they like it or not.
Well, you know what, feminism? If you don't like the rule of law, then don't be part of society. Go somewhere else.
Blue Collar Red Pill, with your host, the One Dan Army Dan Aarons, and Jack Nightrunner Barnes.
How you doing there, folks? It's Danny Boy and Jack here, and we're hoping to have Attila call us tonight. Attila, if you're out there, we'd like to hear from you, and we are going to talk about the domestic violence conference that was on this weekend in Toronto. In case you guys didn't know, Attila had organized a domestic violence conference in Toronto this weekend, Friday and Saturday. The links were in the announcement on A Voice for Men for tonight's Red Pill Blue Collar Radio. Jack, say hello to the folks.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing tonight?
So do we have Attila around right now?
No, we do not.
Okay. So, let's just go over the domestic violence symposium here. The speakers were Aaron Pizzi, Professor Martin Fiebert, Aaron Pizzi, Dr. Miles Groth. I did not catch him myself. I don't think he made it, actually. Vernon Beck was there. Walter Fox was there. Senator Ann Cools was there. And I don't think the Yellow Brick House made it. I was only able to make the Friday event. We are very busy this month of June. We've also got a cafe sexual assault lecture going on coming up. Let me just grab the paperwork on that there, folks, and I will be putting a post up on that. It is coming up June 19th. So we got a really busy month in June for the men's human rights movement. Do we got Attila here yet? No Attila yet. Okay, so Jack, have you watched the Aaron Pizzi's talk?
No, I haven't had a chance to yet, Danny. I've been out of internet connection here for several days.
Okay,
but Aaron Pizzi, she's great. I look forward to watching it. I'm looking forward to meeting her at the conference in Detroit. This is a woman who was fighting for my rights before I was born.
Oh, really? You got to be.
It's just, yeah. See, I'm just in my early 30s. So, I mean, she was. What year was it? She started that first domestic violence shelter. It was back in the 70s. So,
about 71, 74, somewhere in there. I believe it's 74, but I could be wrong, and it could be 1971.
She was fighting the feminists before I was born, which means she was fighting for me before I was born. And I just can't wait to meet that woman and shake her hand and tell her how much I appreciate everything she's done.
Well, it's 1971, and I did have the chance to meet Aaron, and it was incredible, as well as Senator Ann Cools. And actually, I noticed that the link there and that's probably my fault. But the original link, Stefan Molyneux was also there, and he gave an incredible talk. It was absolutely powerful, spot on, concise, and well detailed. It really was an amazing talk, and the way that Senator Ann Cools and Madam Senator Ann Cools, wonderful, incredible woman. She owns a German Shepherd, just kind of like Jeb. I managed to show her what Jeb does to doorknobs when I leave him alone and go to these events. Her and Aaron got a little chuckle over that. I do see that in the chat room there that Iron John and Phil Rader there say 1971 was the year. So I was 2 years old, so I was still kind of in diapers and barely off of Mama's boob there. Still just a whelp, but Aaron was fighting for my rights at that point as well. And you know, as well as Senator Ann Cools and I believe Professor Martin Fiebert.
Hey guys, hate to break in on you, but we are joined by our guest of the evening.
Woo! Attila conquered the
airwaves.
Yeah, we can hear you, brother.
Excellent.
Welcome to the show there, Attila. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. We certainly have had a quite an extensive last few days, and we finished strong to the domestic violence symposium with a lot of good effect, and we are moving ahead. We've had some fantastic speakers talking about some incredible things, and we are now understanding that we have the science which tells us that domestic violence is equal between men and women, but unfortunately, the media, our social realm, and our judicial systems are not in tune with that.
Yep. Yeah. You know, it seems like it's a problem from start to finish, if you want to call it that. Whenever a man realizes that he is in an abusive relationship, that he is that his wife is actually perpetrating domestic violence, it starts right there with the discrimination. He knows, or he will, if he doesn't know, he will find out that if he calls the cops, he's the one more than likely that's going to jail, and it goes on from there. Why don't you tell us a little more about that, Attila?
Well, that's pretty much.
Attila, can you just confirm a couple things? Did Dr. Miles Groth was he able to attend?
Unfortunately, Dr. Miles Groth was not able to attend for various different reasons, which I will not get into at this time.
I'm not worried about that, but I just want to clarify the itinerary. And the Yellow House Brick representative did not attend?
No, Lawrence Herenda was supposed to attend from the Yellow Brick House. I received an email very late on Thursday evening that she was unable to attend. That was pretty disappointing because Aaron Pitts really wanted to meet her, and we wanted to have a perspective of her being the executive director to understand just exactly how things work in a women's shelter. And it's really unfortunate that she was unable to attend this time. Hopefully next year we can make that happen.
But as a really extra secret bonus, Stefan Molyneux was able to attend and give a wonderful lecture at the sort of as a last minute addition. Not really a last minute. I think you announced it a week before or so.
Yes, he actually came on board quite late in the game, and those people that were there and others that have seen him present really saw an incredible human being talk about issues concerning domestic violence, particularly as how parents sometimes discipline their children. And he certainly made a lot of sense, gave us a lot of food for thought, a lot to think about.
Okay, so now Jack wanted to okay, so now that we got the itinerary, or not the itinerary, but the lineup all taken care of, the all-star lineup, I might add. Carry on, sir.
Well, I wanted to have Professor Theobert, Martin S. Theobert, be one of the keynote speakers. The other one was Aaron Pitsey. But let me talk about Professor Theobert. It really floored me. I had no idea until I think a day earlier that on Friday was his 75th birthday. And this man has spent decades gathering information about domestic violence issues. And I had many discussions with him, in addition to his presentation, that science tells us, and he has the science, he has the information, he has peer-reviewed pieces of science that tells us that domestic violence is roughly equal between men and women. And they've looked at this over and over and over again, and this is what the bottom line is. The part that is not adding up is police officers are mandated to arrest the male. There is no anger management courses for women, only for men. As Walter Fox later explained on Saturday, feminists have taken over this thing, domestic violence, as something that is initiated and it's only at the hands of men against women. So only the men are the perpetrators and only women are the possible victims. And this is entirely wrong. So there's tremendous resistance because we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry, as Vernon Beck had explained, which pays dividends to many, many people. And if all of a sudden we were to bring it to the public's attention that, hey, wait a second here. Yes, women are abused, and yes, they are victims of domestic violence, but so are men. And not only that they are as well, but that they are equally the victims of domestic violence. And this is something that, as Professor Theobert said to me on Saturday, that we need to get the mainstream media to propagate and to talk about. We have the science. That's why I wanted to have Professor Theobert at the Domestic Violence Symposium as our keynote speaker. And we now need to get this science out to the mainstream media. We need to get it to the physicians, the frontline responders, so the police officers, the social workers, the children's aid societies, who are working on this model that I'm not even certain where they've obtained it from, but it's certainly not science because they automatically want the male to be the villain, the perpetrator. And that's not exactly true. So we have quite a bit of an uphill climb because, one, we need to disseminate science, the scientific proof that domestic violence is equal between men and women. We also need to get the media to disseminate the same information in the public domain so that the public will respond with, well, yes, women are also responsible for domestic violence. So if we're going to deal with this condition, we are going to need to address it in an equal and balanced manner, leaning on and depending on the science and not, hearsay and other propaganda that is based on falsehoods.
Hello, Attila, you still there?
I'm still here. This is the task at hand.
How did we had good coverage, video coverage of the event, and a decent turnout, as I understand it. We would have liked to have seen police, all justice system employees attending to view the evidence that was to be presented that day. But we didn't have any, did we?
No, unfortunately, we did not have any official presence, which is quite disturbing to me because we took a lot of care to get information out to these people, and I'm a little bit dumbfounded as to why they would have not taken the time to come and listen to people who are the professionals who have the data. But perhaps it's something that is not going to be accepted so quickly. And the only thing that it's really done for me is made me understand what exactly it is that we need to do in order to effect the work that is ahead of us in the realm of domestic violence. So preparations are already on way for the Toronto Domestic Violence Symposium 2015. And at this event, I will ensure that all the children's aid agencies are represented there, meaning that they are present. All the various police forces, so Peel, Durham, York, they need to be there. The police chiefs need to be there. The superintendents, the staff sergeants, they need to be there, because really they are the first people that respond to domestic violence matter. They are the ones that come to the home, and it's not right that they would automatically be mandated to arrest the father, the boyfriend, because that's just it's discriminatory. It's bigoted. It's wrong. And so perhaps we could have like Vernon Beck had mentioned, instead of arresting the male, which means that they're out of the house, they usually enter into a peace bond. Other times they have a restraining order issue. Perhaps what we could do is have a cool-down period where both the mother and the father, boyfriend, girlfriend, would be able to have a 48-hour period where perhaps they would be taught that, hey, listen, if we come back again and if we apply the law, this is the consequence that is going to take place. And rather than just destroying a family straight off the bat, which is devastating, because typically the calls are made on a Friday night, so the father doesn't have an opportunity to get a hold of a lawyer. It means that they're in jail or the holding cell at the police station over the weekend. It's a very traumatizing thing to do. Oftentimes, the police officers persuade them that, admit to some level of guilt, do an anger management course, and off you go. And you're back to work Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. The problem is, by admitting any level of guilt, if there is none that was ever present, it destroys the individual's future forever. And I've spoken, excuse me, I've spoken about the CPIC in Canada, and it's a database for police officers. Now, even if you haven't even been charged by a police officer investigating, there's a record of that. There's an incident number. And as Walter Fox explained, it's even worse than that. If someone just puts a call into the police that something's happened, and if they don't even investigate and create an incident number, it stays on record. So the situation is, if you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these things, then police will look at it and go, hey, wait a second, there's a pattern here. So this individual must be predisposed to being violent, or they have violent tendencies. And it's all just ill stigma, and it's based on nothing but hearsay. Nothing's been proven, but this horrible CPIC record is there for eternity. Nothing erases it. It doesn't matter that you went to court and you were found not guilty, or that the charges were unconditionally withdrawn. The CPIC record is there till your death. It follows you forever. And so, particularly when people make these calls without actual merit and reason, that needs to be addressed, because we can't have, especially males, subject to such a thing where they are vilified. But that plays into the hands of this business, which depends on an element of criminality, or it's not even proven criminality, but just it's based on allegations. And we can't function as a society where half the population is subject to this kind of tyranny and attack and bigotry. It just simply doesn't work. So I've made it a lifelong mission of mine, or as long as it takes, whatever it takes, that yes, we understand there's such a thing as domestic violence. Yes, we need to address it. Yes, we're going to deal with it. But it must be dealt with based on the science in a impartial, equal, and balanced manner. And if people, and it's typically women who make false allegations, if they decide that they think they're going to utilize that as a tool in divorce or just out of vengeance, we need to send a loud message that, you know what, you do that and you are going to be held accountable, because presenting false information to police officers that leads to an investigation, that's public mischief. Produce a perjured affidavit or a police statement, that's perjury. It carries 14 years maximum jail. So there has to be a deterrent. In the cases where we do have actual and real domestic violence concerns or issues or occurrences, let's deal with it. But let me tell you, one of the most bizarre cases of domestic violence that I've ever heard of was an elderly man whose false teeth were ready to be refitted because they were not fitting well as the mouth changes shape. And he sneezed abruptly. His false teeth flew out, hit his wife, and he was charged with committing the offense of assault with a weapon. And if I wasn't at 50 Eagle Street at Newmarket Courthouse, if I didn't hear this personally, I wouldn't believe it. But the man was charged with assault with a weapon because he sneezed and the false teeth flew out of his mouth and hit his wife. Now, the defense was that he had booked an appointment to have his false teeth refitted. And, that's how he got off. But let's just look at this for a second. This is an incredible waste of public resources because, as Walter Fox was saying, while they will go after a domestic situation against a male because he threw a chicken wing at his wife, they ignore the big issues, which could be a lot more serious. So we really need to listen to what Professor Fierberg said. We need to get the media engaged to talk about what domestic violence actually is, we need to utilize the science, which tells us clearly that domestic violence is equal between men and women. And of course, domestic violence is hardest on children because children have no way of escaping it. And the only escape for them is, if they're old enough, they can call Children's Aid. But let me tell you, anybody that's been in foster care will tell you that it is not a good place to be in most cases. I know many former foster children who have told me stories that are absolutely horrific. So I think what we need to work on is for men and women to understand that we need to better understand each other. We need to ensure that there is no violence, be it physical or mental, and in fact mental domestic violence is the worst form because it doesn't heal easily. It's psychological damage. And I know that what happens is when men are just accused of such thing as domestic violence, many of them are unable to afford a lawyer. They wait 3, 4, 5, 6 months until their case is heard. During that time, they lose their jobs, they lose their cars because obviously they can't make their payments, they lose their houses. And I know of one man, I cannot mention his name, but he was at Millhaven for 8 weeks waiting for bail pending appeal. And in that time, he personally witnessed 5 men hang themselves. Some of these men just are unable to cope with the implication of being in prison, of losing everything, and they commit suicide. But it's not just in the prisons that we have a suicide issue. We have an issue out in the public domain. And in Canada, and this is very difficult to comprehend and believe, but it is the truth, 8 men and 2 women commit suicide every single day in Canada, every day. And if you think about that for a minute, 8 men, 2 women, I don't think anybody truly gets up in the morning and says, hey, you know what, I think I'm just going to take my life today because life sucks. There's got to be reasons for that. You know, most people have something to look forward to, but what I've read, and this is the work of Dr. Paul Links, is that divorcing men are 8 times more likely to commit suicide than women in the general population. And that really is telling of just how serious the stresses are on men, because they come to a point where death seems to be the best option in life. And that to me is very sad. I don't necessarily want to bring this up, but I know, Danny, that you're very aware of the impact of suicide, and truly it is something that deeply concerns me. I've had a number of people that I've known personally who have taken their lives. In every case, had to do with family breakdown, divorce, and we need to address this. We can't ignore this condition anymore. It needs to be dealt with. It is not acceptable that we ignore 8 men and 2 women committing suicide each day in Canada. It is something that has to be dealt with. We cannot ignore the fact that domestic violence is perpetuated, or that is initiated by men and women equally. It's something that needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with in a manner that is based on science and not on what the women's shelters and what the violence against women organizations are telling us, that only men commit this terrible crime. Women do it equally. And in fact, just yesterday or this morning, I watched a video clip of a young man that was flying a remote control airplane or whatever it was, taking videos on a beach. A woman came up to him and began to beat him. In fact, she did beat him. It caught everything on that remote control operated video device. And
was it that
when
incredible?
The police came,
holy privileged entitlement princess. Like, wasn't that incredible? She just felt that it was her God-given right to go up and demand that another young human. You know what? Never mind his frickin' gender. Let's take that crap out of the equation. But the fact that it was a male, obviously that is a factor. But just another human that she felt entitled to assault another human. Now, because it's a male, that's feminist kind of gynocentric indoctrination. But she felt entitled just to go rangy on that kid because he was flying a remote controlled airplane. Actually, it was a helicopter. It was a quad helicopter, but. Yeah, and he gave a detailed account because she actually called it a helicopter airplane or something like that. Some contradictory term, but it's a quad helicopter, quad rotor helicopter. If I remember the article correctly, it's not an airplane. It can actually hover, whereas airplanes need forward movement for the airflow or the airfoil over the wing for it to work.
Right. So,
anyways,
I mean, at the end of the day, the significant part is, fine. She may have gone up to him and said, "Excuse me, I don't like you videotaping," even though he was completely in his right. But she wasn't civil. She was there to, whether she did it in preconceived or not, she assaulted that man. But it's worse than that. When the police arrived, she lied that someone else did it. Or I should say that he did it. And that was a complete lie. Now, usually, given what propaganda the domestic violence industry tells us, we automatically believe her. Yeah, of course, because we've learned that men are the violent ones. They are the ones that perpetuate the domestic violence, and she's the victim. We have to believe her. We don't question it. And this has to stop. And that video is a perfect example of just how horrific it is when a male is falsely accused. How do you defend against that? And, in other cases, like I've seen one man, he was convicted of possessing and producing child pornography, while the judge in the court admitted that he had that no evidence of it was ever found, no pictures were ever found. I mean, that is pretty scary. That someone could be convicted of a crime without evidence. Whatever happened to beyond a reasonable doubt? How low is that bar? And in criminal court, it's supposed to be at the highest level. Now, Danny, I'm going to need to move along.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that just
Sorry, Dan. I'm going to need to move along. And the Domestic Violence Symposium has been at a tremendous cost. And as I've given you the link, we are fundraising to raise funds to help cover off the costs, which have been quite big. So if we could have our listeners help us to raise additional funds to cover the costs, would be greatly appreciated.
Attila, we are losing your signal. However, I do have the link, and I have dropped the link in the chat. There's a site that will help that out. Go to fundanything.com /CN/campaigns / stop domestic violence everywhere. go to there. And for those of you in the chat, I will be dropping it once again. And help out any way you can.
Thank you for that, James, and I apologize for the bad connection, but perhaps it's just a signal that I really do need to go. I have to go and pick up my son, who was playing soccer this evening. So it was my distinct pleasure to have the opportunity to bring these amazing people to the Toronto Domestic Violence Symposium on the 6th and 7th of June. I can tell you that preparations are underway to have and host our Domestic Violence Symposium 2016, once again in Toronto. The exact location and dates will be announced at a future time.
Thank you very much, Attila. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Attila. You have a great night. Jack, why don't you take us out for? Are we due for a break or what?
It's up to you, man.
James, what are we looking at for time here for a break?
We're gonna go ahead and play a piece of music here in just one moment.
James, if you put us in a frickin' elevator again with music, I swear to God, I'm putting the pictures out.
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. All right, folks, here we go. Nice little music break.
And welcome back. We're back there, folks. I'd just like to remind you all to get on over to fundanything.com campaigns. Stop domestic violence everywhere and drop a few dollars in for the wonderful show that Attila managed to pull together and present for the archives. Really, this was a history-making event. It's another stepping stone on the way to Detroit. And then from Detroit and beyond, really, as far as I see it. We are lucky enough to have had Attila come in tonight, and we are now going to bring in the video guy, the wire puller himself there, Sean. Jack, why don't you introduce Sean?
Sean, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi, Jack. Hi.
Hi.
So, Sean, you were there for 2 days, pulling the cable, pulling the cable wire for video there, correct?
Well, it's a bit more involved than that, and yeah, it was pretty much an adventure. It starts off Thursday afternoon. I drive from Windsor to Chatham, Ontario, and pick up Chris Carter. Okay, so from there, we're kind of getting rushed for time. We're not sure whether or not Long and McQuaid is going to close, but the one in Burlington, Ontario, was the only one that would actually have the mixing board that I needed to buy in order to use at the event. So rather than running the risk of it closing before we can get there, I went there first, and then we swung back to Kitchener later, and we picked up Kristen Chiasson from Kitchener. And at that point, the three of us headed towards Toronto. And then it happened. My car died. Okay.
Oh no! The white banana. The white boat.
The piece of crap cop car. I got an old cop car. So it dies on Highway 8, and you know when an Audi 5000 passes you doing 140, it tears all the clothing off of you. I found that out really quickly. So anyway, I don't know why it's died. I have no idea what's going on. I checked the oil, it's fine, but it had a check engine light. Okay, grab my wrench, disconnect the battery posts, let it sit for 10 minutes, put it back together. It reboots the onboard computer, check engine light goes away. I start it. It works! You would not believe what a relief that was. I shit my intestines. I swear. I've never ate so quickly in my life. I white-knuckled it all the way to Toronto, praying this would not happen again because I had no idea what it was. Okay, so we get down to Toronto. We stay the night. The next day we get down to the event, and it goes flawlessly. Perfect. Same thing for Saturday. Goes without a hitch. But all the while, I was wondering, what was wrong with my car? I checked the manual. There's a safety fuel shutoff switch that something in my trunk bumped against, and it shut off the car.
Yep.
So whatever you do, don't put shit in your trunk that can jump around, like bodies or something, you know, because it might activate the switch. Okay.
Yeah, that safety switch is there in case you have a collision. It trips the switch and cuts off your fuel pump, so you're not pumping fuel out on the ground or something. On the
Jack,
fire.
you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I hear him just fine.
Okay, Danny, can you hear me?
Oh,
I guess we lost Danny. But anyway, yeah, that switch is there to protect in case of a crash.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think about the symposium? I mean, from just a regular working guy's perspective.
Well, it's a bit like trying to inhale a Buick. The amount of data that I have to absorb and really think about is going to take a wetware implant and about a couple of years to really analyze. Right? But the one that got me the most, of course, was the one that applied to my life, which was Walter Fox, as he refers to non-conviction information held in the CPIC computers, This is a point that Attila Vinzer was bringing up. This has been a nagging issue for me for a while.
Would you?
I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
I was just saying, would you like to share that story with us if it's not too personal?
No, that's fine. I've got nothing to hide. Got charged,
I would advise you to change names if you're going to be talking about specific people, change their names or whatever.
No, I'm not mentioning any names other than my own. So,
okay,
I'm just talking about. I got charged in 2002 with assault and taking a car without authorization. Of course, it was garbage. This was basically a stay of proceedings in court. In other words, when the Crown says we won't really need this, it's garbage, it kind of tells you it's a waste of everybody's time, right? And I signed a peace bond, and that's the end of it, and whatever. That was in 2003. We went to court. In 2005, I'm getting into truck driving. I'm doing long-distance trucking. So I applied for my FAST card. FAST stands for Free and Secure Trade. It's just something truckers use to clear loads through borders, and it's a lot of stuff. Detroit, Michigan wants me to go down for an interview. So I go there and I explain to them, this is what happened in court. It's not an issue. I'm obviously trustworthy. I have enhanced security clearance, with the Canadian government. Shouldn't have a problem. And I didn't. At that time, I got the FAST card. That was in 2005. Okay, I didn't like truck driving. I got out of that. I was a garbage man. I was a garbage man for about 7 years. Then I got laid off. Sold my house in Ottawa, moved down to Windsor. Well, I thought, I was a truck driver before. I can get back into that again. I'll just go apply for a FAST card. They turned me down. Now, all I've done since the last time I saw them, and this time, was go to work every day, pay my taxes, vote once in a while, and maybe take a crap twice a day. I don't really understand why they're telling me no. And I thought, well, what's going on? Every time I go across the border, they take longer and longer to stare at their screen. Somebody's putting stuff there. And I'm pretty sure it's not the Americans. They're reading the stuff that's coming from the Canadian computers, namely CPIC. So I have no idea what this is. So I start researching it. And lo and behold, there's all kinds of links to describe what a 1984 reality this is about. And essentially what they're doing is they're just profiling people with whatever they feel like sticking there. So I got this stuff against my name, and I don't even know what it is. So I have to fight that. It's a major civil liberties issue. If my point is either arrest me or get this off the record. Shit or get off the pot. If I've done something, come over and do something, because they've had 14 years to convict me for something, and they haven't. So they can cut down their witch hunt and do away with this, as far as I'm concerned.
Witch cunt?
I didn't exactly meant to say it that way, but
God, that was what a Freudian slip that was.
Yes, I know. My Freudian slip is showing. Yes, but so yeah. I can't begin to tell you.
Without this card, you couldn't cross the border.
Yeah, well, I can cross the border, but I can't actually work, which is my line of work. And when you're driving a truck living in Windsor, which is a border town, I can't begin to tell you how castrating it is to be looking at trucks that I can't drive, having to take a job that's close to minimum wage because they won't let me do the very thing I'm qualified for. Why? Because my psychotic ex decided to call 911 when she was mixing Valium with wine in massive quantities, and they take a word like the gospel truth. It's all on the police report. It's amazing.
So the mere fact that you have a police report on record was enough to fuck you in the ass. No conviction.
Not at first.
No conviction. Just an actual report.
Yes, but not at first. It took a while, and then as the years progressed, I guess they decided to make a bigger mountain out of the molehill. So somebody's adding stuff to it. I don't know what they're putting on, but I bet it compares with, a Stephen King novel at this point. It's some really neat fiction writing, whatever they're doing. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Right now, I'm in the process of applying to have a copy of that, because I'd at least like to see what the fuck this is.
Well, I kind of dropped off for a little bit there, so I'm guessing you're talking about your issue with the border thing, and the police sharing information on just charges, not convictions.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yes. The Star's been writing up about it. I believe there's like a petition starting or something. There's starting to be some buzz generating about it. And again, because of the nature of a lot of false allegations made in family court, or made to give advantage in a family court, the majority of those are going to be against guys, and guys are going to get screwed over. I believe there was a famous case that Senator Ann Cools mentioned on the Friday night there. It was Gannon versus Gannon, where the trial judge said there is absolutely no evidence of the assault that Mrs. Gannon had said, and blah blah blah, and Mr. Gannon was unfairly punished, and the judge recognized that it was all a fabrication. And it was kind of like, too bad. Even though the judge kind of spoke out against it, nobody paid attention and nobody done anything about it. And women, women who commit those crimes still are protected by, feminist organizations like the Elizabeth Fry Society, who say that, women shouldn't be tossed in jail when they commit crimes, and organizations like that. Yeah, it's absolute insanity. You're guilty until proven innocent, and then you're still guilty.
On top of that, this also affects the likelihood of whether or not I can go over to Detroit, which I just live across the river from, to help out at that event. Because I want to help, but I got to get through the border first.
We'll give you a good pair of binoculars. We'll give you a good pair of binoculars. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll work, but the trouble is I can't run the camera from Windsor. So, I kind of got to be there to help.
I know, but yeah. We'll get you there. It's kind of insane what they are doing. The level of fear mongering and such that's going on. It is absolute insanity. What do you think there, Jack? Fear mongering is a little insane, or what?
Yeah. I mean, Sean, you weren't convicted of anything, and you're being punished.
That's right. There's absolutely no conviction of any kind. It was a stay of proceedings, which basically, as far as I'm concerned, is get this garbage out of my court, and a peace bond. And there was no admission of guilt at all. And my lawyer told me the peace bond was not for me. It's just to protect me from her, because they don't want me going near her anymore. But that's it. So for 40-odd years of my life, before I met this woman, I never had any problems. And since I've met her, I still don't have any problems. I think we know where the source of the problem lies. Anyhow, the website...
Sean?
Go ahead.
Sean, I'm sorry, brother. We're running a little bit close on time. And
okay.
We want to thank you for coming on to the show and telling your story. Right. All I can say is that sucks, and that is nowhere. That doesn't even begin to encompass the problem. But thank you for coming on and telling your story, and thank you for all the help that you lended Attila with his symposium. We really appreciate that. Danny,
no problem.
Why don't we start closing it out, brother?
Yeah, Sean, again, amazing job at the Toronto Domestic Violence Conference there. All the speakers were amazing. It was my distinct pleasure, one of the greatest pleasures of my life, to have met Senator Ann Cools and Aaron Pitsey in person, and had such a joyous time talking to them for probably 10 minutes. Stefan Molyneux too, amazing talk. The man is amazing. What he talks about and the logic that he lays out is absolutely spot on. Everybody else that was involved. Martin Fiebert, again, incredible. Dr. Martin Fiebert, Professor Martin Fiebert, incredible talk given by him. Sean, amazing video work. Attila, amazing work putting it all together. Everybody who showed up. Vern Beck, Chris Carter, I'd like to give a shout out to him there, and everybody else that was there. Guys, we got a long road ahead of us, but we're really starting to make progress. Again, I'll remind you of the cafe presentation next weekend at, I will be putting some information about that up on the on A Voice for Men. And again, fundanything.com, end domestic violence for everyone there. Get down there, drop a few shekels in the bucket for Attila, all his efforts, and to help cover the costs. We are talking costs only here. Get down and drop a few dollars in the bucket, please. I think we're good to go there, James. Will you take us out?
Dan and Jack hope
take
you
the red pill,
enjoyed
guys.
this episode
Good night.
of Blue Collar
Going
Red Pill.
home.
The song The Last Ones by the band Jazar is used under Creative Commons license and has been modified for this show. Please visit antimisandry.com and avoiceformen.com for more information on the men's human rights movement.